Alright, hey guys, King of Charmanders here, and we have Kanto Ninetales. So, Kanto Ninetales, believe it or not, long story short, they did a little poll on Community Day one time, and they talked about Weather Ball Ninetales, and eventually it finally came to Pokemon Go, just literally like almost 1 year later. So Kanto Ninetales also benefits from the fact that you have Ember, but you need Elite Tam it, so you can use Ember, the new buffed Ember. And it has Fire Spin. It's actually a really good mon. Like, it's outside, like, in certain, like, self-tournaments or in specific metas, Ninetales can be really good. The thing about Ninetales, what makes it really good, is that it's actually, like, pretty thick. As you see here, its stat pool, it has high defense, and its attack and stamina are pretty relatively even, but because of these stats, it's somewhat, not tanky, but it's, like, somewhat tanky. And it now has access to Weather Ball. So with Fire Weather Ball, great stat, in my opinion, great stat spread, and great moveset. It's pretty dang. It's like Ninetales is pretty dang good to use, or it looks to be something good. Now the thing about Ninetales, it's a pure Fire type. So being a pure Fire type, you carry the weaknesses of Water, Rock, and Ground. However, you resist Bug, Fairy, so Charmers, Fire, other Fire types like Alolan Marowak. Grass types like Razor Leaf, Meganium, Ice types like Alolan Ninetales, and like Frostless, and Steel like Registeel. So you have a decent amount of resistances. There are relevant weaknesses. For example, Rock is like a lot, or it's a subtyping of a lot of charge moves. And you do see Water and Ground a lot. So you do see its weaknesses around a lot. However, as long as you keep away from its weaknesses, it can do very well. And the thing about Ninetales, it actually has Solar Beam. So as you see here, part of its moveset, it has a lot of coverage. It has a pretty versatile move pool. So it makes it really good too. It has Psyshock, it has Heat Wave, it has Solar Beam, and now it has Fire Weather Ball. So there's a lot of options you have with Ninetales. With Solar Beam, you have that cover. The thing is, with Solar Beam, you cover all of its weaknesses. So if you can land a Solar Beam on Ground, Rock, or Water, it does super effective damage. And because Solar Beam's power, 9 times 10, you're probably going to KO with it. So with that coverage, Ninetales can, like, played well, and in certain scenarios, Kanto Ninetales can probably give you the W, and it's something that a lot of fans of Ninetales have been looking for a very long time. Alright, so here we have the K9. As you see, K9 I'm not going to go over the Shadow one, just because Shadow and regular, as you see, they're very specific and very different. Like, I'll probably go over in a separate video, because Shadow and the regular, because of Great League, Shadow flips a lot of things. So, Shadow might flip a lot of things. So, I'd rather focus on one versus the other, and then I'll go over the other one later. As you see here, for regular Ninetales, which I'll be looking at, regular Ninetales can actually do a lot of damage. As you see here, it's best used in the lead. Not so much in the closer switch. Lead with it, and if you win lead with it, cool. If not, pivot to one of its strong points. As you see here, you're able to take out Skarmory, so Steel types. You're able to take out a lot Abomasnow, as well as Victory Bell, so Shadow Victory Bell. You do lose against Bastiano, so just keep that in mind. However, you're also able to beat Ozzy. And like I mentioned, it has Solar Beam, so you're able to land a lot of things. So Solar Beam gives you that coverage against Ninetales' weaknesses. Now, your key losses are Galarian Stunfisk, Alolan Marowak, because it's also a Fire type, so it does resist you as well. And it kind of effectively walls you, because Solar Beam and Weather Ball are both resisted by Alolan Marowak. Obstagoon and Scrafty, just because things that deal heavy amounts of damage, like counter users, can take down Ninetales relatively quickly. Because even though it's at a high defense, like I said, it's not super bulky, but it's semi-bulky, not like super bulky. It has great bulk, but not amazing bulk. In the lead, Ninetales ranks at number 56. So, as you see here, you beat what I mentioned before. Not so strong in the closer and the switch scenarios, though. As you see here, in the closer, you're able to beat down a lot of really good, a lot of things like Skarmory, Shadow Victory Bell, Umbreon Venusaur. So you still beat a lot of relevant meta. You do lose against Galar and Stunfisk, Azu, Alolan Marowak, Toxicroak, and Oxyune. So basically things that, like I said, are out thick you or you're weak against, just because of the rock, and especially G-Fish, just because it has Rock Slide and Earthquake. So it has a lot of super effective moves against you. K Ninetales isn't that bad as a switch if you switch it into a positive matchup. As you see here, you're able to beat Azu, G-Fish, Skarmory, Abomasnow, and Shadow Victory Bell. This is the best one ever. However, you have to be careful about Altaria, also Mudboys. Mudboys also give you a really hard time as they have very strong ratings. And, as I mentioned before, Bastiodon. Alright, here's a peeppoke.com matrix. My favorite part because we get to see, I get to do whatever I want and we get to just put everything on a board. Anyways, if you'd like to donate to peeppoke.com, please consider doing so. As you see here, I got Ninetales with Fire Spin. I got the one with Ember, so if you want to use a TM, Elite TM to get Ninetales for Legacy, here it is. I also have the Shadow versions right here. So this should cover everything. You want Weather Ball Solar Beam because you could do Psy Shock, but I definitely recommend Solar Beam. The reason why you want Solar Beam is because it has your coverages. For example, if you manage to hit a Solar Beam on a Mudboy, or if you manage a Solar Beam on whatever's weak against, Ninetales' attack is high enough to where you'll KO it. So the recommended move for the second move, definitely I would consider Solar Beam. Because Weather Ball Fire is the bait move you want anyways, because of its sheer damage and its synergy with Ninetales. As you see, we have the 2-shield mid-battle. And now you can burn down Abomasnow. Remember I was talking about like farm down strat. Abomasnow, you can burn it down. You could beat Azu with Solar Beam. You could beat Azu in a 2-shield as long as... This is a really bait dependent matchup though. Like, you'll kill Azu if you can Solar Beam through the shields. As you see here, Solar Beam will do 142 damage. So you should do enough damage to almost kill it at like no shields. And then with a little bit of chip. But you have to double bait. But one Solar Beam through the shield and you could probably just straight Weather Ball. That's just how... That gives you a chance. So Solar Beam gives you the chance of the 2s. Unfortunately, the Shadow version... Unfortunately, as you see here, the Shadow version Ember does not because you won't generate enough energy. You beat Chestnut, you beat Clefable, So you beat Clefable with Fire Spin just because you do enough damage to get it down. That's why you lose. So the cons of running Ember is that Ember and Fire Spin does more damage, like per shot. And Ember isn't obscenely overpowered, which is why you see Shadow Ninetales with Ember losing against Clefable and Cresselia. Now the interesting part is you could beat Deoxys defense with the Ember version if it's a Shadow. Other than that, you beat Clefable and everything else with all the other versions. I would just run the Fire Spin, Weather Ball, Solar Beam version if I really had a choice. Just because it's, as you see here, you flip a lot more matchups than you lose. You beat Drifloon with the Shadow Ember version. You beat Ferrothorn, you beat Frostless, you beat Galvantula. As you see here, you don't beat Haunter if you don't have Ember, unfortunately. You need, or Ember or Shadow damage. So the regular version does not win against Haunter. Shadow Fire Spin's looking pretty... It goes really back and forth. As you see here, there's a lot of specific scenarios. For example, the Shadow Ninetales with Ember will beat Hypno, but the regular version beats Shadow Hypno, but you'll lose against Shadow Hypno. So it's very specific. With Lapras, you could beat Lapras only because I'm guessing you double bait and then you can Solar Beam. Actually, you just straight Weather Ball. You could beat Lapras straight Weather Ball. Oh yeah, that's because Fire Spin does neutral damage. So that's pretty. This might be a very IV dependent matchup though, because as you see here, that's 1 HP in a Dreamland. So this is a very IV dependent matchup in my opinion against Lapras. So you can lose this by 1 HP or 1 hit of chip damage. So be careful. You beat Shadow Champ and you beat Lapras with the Ember Shadow version. With Manabuzz, you'll beat it with the Fire Spin Shadow version. And it looks like the Ember or the Fire Spin Shadow version can beat Medicham in the 2-shield. It really goes back and forth. As you see here, this chart jumps everywhere, depending on which version you carry. So it really does matter what version you carry, whether it's the regular one or the Shadow one. But it looks to see here, as you see here, with the regular one, with the regular Fire Spin one, you could take down Meganium, Melmetal, Mew, Munchlax. Shadow one and Ember does not. So Ember does not, and the Shadow one doesn't look like it just jumps around everywhere. It just really jumps around everywhere. I would definitely go with the recommended moveset though. As you see, it seems like the recommended moveset flips a lot more matchups, or the most matchups, and you're not gonna really find, unless you have a good Shadow Ninetales, that I would take a look at it. But as you see, even Shadow Ninetales has some liabilities because you lose some matchups if you use a Shadow Ninetales. But I would definitely run a Matrix. If you plan on running Ninetales, definitely run a Matrix and like take a look at it. As you see with the Fire Spin Weather Ball, you can beat Galarian Stunfisk in a 2-shield. You beat Toxstroke, you beat Tropius, you beat Venusaur, you beat Wigglytuff, and you lose against Vigoroth, Wishcash, Wireless, and Brown. So basically things that are really thick or things that are really spammy like Vigoroth, you'll lose into the 2-shield. In the 1-shield, as you start losing shield, it might get a little more dicey. So in 1-shield, you still beat Abomasnow. You can beat Azumarill still because you can Weather Ball Solar Beam with the regular moveset. You beat Chestnut, you beat Clefable, you beat Cresselia. Just avoid Bastiodon. You're not gonna, unless you Solar Beam it with like quarter HP left, you're not gonna beat a Bastiodon. Deoxys defense beats you, so does Digger's Beam. Because of the Earthquake. Driplim as well. Driplim gives you a hard time because I guess it debuffs you. You beat Ferrothorn, you beat Frostus, Galvantula, Haunter. Jellicent, I'm guessing you have to Solar Beam, so I guess this is a bait dependent. I think this should be a bait dependent matchup because you have to Solar Beam the Jellicent. Yeah, you have to Solar Beam the Jellicent. You can't get to 2 Solar Beams before you go down. As you see here, you won't get to 2 Solar Beams, so you have to call the bait and then you have to Solar Beam, which is a lot to ask for. So that's a bait dependent matchup. Same thing with Lapras. I think with Lapras you have to Solar Beam as well. Oh no, you can just straight Weather Ball. Okay, that's cool. Woo! Weather Ball Ninetales is good. You don't. Okay, never mind. You don't have to do that. You could just straight Weather Ball. So straight Weather Ball against neutral things. You beat Alolan Rex, you beat Registeel, you lose against Munchlax and Obstagoon. I'm thinking Munchlax just because of how thick it is, and Body Slam really is spammy. Same thing with Obstagoon. Obstagoon spam with Night Slash and Counter. Our Cross Chop is going to suck. You lose against Scrafty. You lose against Sableye unless you hold the Ember or the Shadow Fire Spin version. Those are very specific. You beat Shifter, you beat Skarmory, so you beat a lot of meta-relevant Mons. What sucks about this is that Galarian Stunfisk, you lose in the 1-shield, but you beat it with all the other variations. So these are very specific. You lose against Swampert, of course, because it just outpaces you. You beat Toxico, Tropius, Umbreon, Venusaur, Shadow Victory Bell, Vigoroth that you lose against, and Wishcash just because they're Mud Boys, and you beat Wigglytuff. So the good thing about Ninetales, it has a pretty good matchup against the Shadow Victory Bell and against Charmers. So that's a really good plus about Ninetales. As you see, which version you have does matter, but it does flip a lot of relevant meta matchups because of Weather Ball. Alright, so I did a 1-shield. Here's the 0-shield. Go ahead and run it. The 0-shield's kind of risky. Unless you have Energy Lead, you're probably not going to kill like some things that outpace you, like Azumarill, Altaria, etc. You beat Abomasnow, Chestnut, Clefable, Cresselia. So you still beat the Charmers. You still beat a lot of... You beat the Charmers. You still beat a lot of really good picks. Cresselia is a big one. I think you Solar Beam it to death? Oh no, you just straight Weather Ball. Wow, so you could literally straight Weather Ball things to death, which is pretty dang good. That's how strong Weather Ball Ninetales is. You beat Driplim, beat Ferrothorn, Frostus, Galvantula, Haunter. You lose against Hippo unless you use Ember. You beat Shadow Hypno, though. You beat Jellicent, Lapras. So in the closers, like, it looks like I said, like, unless it resists, like, fire or you're weak to it, like Mantine, like water, you can't take it. However, some things that do outpace you, like Meganium, can take you out because of Double Frenzy Plant. Oh, just one Earthquake. No, it's not Double Frenzy Plant, it's just Earthquake, that's right. Meganium does have Earthquake. One Earthquake will yeet you to the next dimension. You can get to a Weather Ball and take it out, but you need to, you won't be, you need to take, in order to take out Meganium, you need chip damage, as you see here. So you need chip damage with Weather Ball to take it out. You beat Mew, you beat Melmetal as well, you lose against Munchlax, Obstagoon, Raichu. So the good thing about Ninetales is the same things you would get, you generally lose against the same things that you lose against. For example, if I had to fight Sableye, you beat Sableye, I think in a 2s. Yeah, so you'll beat it in a 2-shield, but you'll beat it with a 2s, or if you have shield advantage, but you lose in every other scenario. So the 2-shield Ninetales is really strong. You're gonna lose against Toxtricity this time around because in the 0s it could just Mud Bomb you to death. Same thing with Swampert, you just literally just get destroyed. I believe with Swampert, the only way you beat Swampert is that you have to Solar Beam. Yeah, you need 2 shields to Solar Beam to death. So you have to Solar Beam. Tropius, Umbreon. Umbreon's a pretty big one. You beat Venusaur, Victory Bell. So Grass, you still have a strong matchup against Grass and Charmers. So Grass Hole, Charmers, still really good. You lose against Witchcash and Zweilous just because it's Mud Boy and Dragon. But as you see, like, Kanto Weather Ball Ninetales is pretty dang good. With the rise of water, unfortunately, it's not like super meta. But as you see, in the 1-0s, you beat a lot of things. You beat a majority of the meta, unless it's a Mud Boy, a dragon like Zweilous, and Altaria, Bastiodon, or Deoxys Defense. And you even beat DD with the other variations. So 1-0, shield advantage Ninetales is very, very powerful. 2-0s, can it wipe the... No. So 2-0s, you beat everything except Mantine, Bastiodon, basically anything that's just super spammy. And then the 2-1s, I think things do start changing. But in the 2-1s, as you see here, with shield advantage, you still lose to only Altaria, Bastiodon, Diggersby, Mantine, Obstagoon, and Scrafty. Scrafty, Swamp, and Swampert. Looks like you beat Wishcash as long as you have... Well, Wishcash is a bait-dependent matchup because you have the Solar Beam here. Yeah, so you have the Solar Beam. But generally, as you see here, really, really good. Ninetales Weather Ball, Cantonian Ninetales with Weather Ball is extremely powerful, especially with shield advantage in the 2-shield scenario. It starts losing off on 1 and the 0s, however, generally, like, it's... Overall, it's pretty dang good. Alright, so if I had to give Kanto Ninetales a rating, I would give it an 8 out of 10. So the reason I give it an 8 out of 10, because the thing is, despite the fact that you have all these buffs with like Ember, etc., it's kind of hard to play because of, if you look at the 2-shield, for example, if I run the multi-battle with the 2-shield, as you see right here, alright, battle, you still win a lot of things in the 2-shield, especially with shield advantage, so if you have shield advantage too. But the thing about it is okay, see, as 2-1s, very, very strong. However, what you lose against, water types. That's right. The thing is, with the new Weather Ball update, a lot of water types, mainly like Jellicent and Politoed, came into prominence, and Politoed outpaces Ninetales. It's also, that's just the way it is. Like, it's a fun one to have for Ninetales, and it's still very powerful, don't get me wrong. If you could wipe out their water type, and you'll leave Weather Ball Ninetales, and it's still very strong, and Solar Beam can KO a lot of things. You also have the option of being a little fancy, because as you saw when we were on the Matrix, there's a lot of different things you beat and you don't beat. So there are a lot of matchups you can beat and you don't beat. The reason I didn't go over each and every one is because if I did, we'd be here forever. So my advice to you is, if you do want to play Weather Ball Ninetales Shadow version especially, I would run your sim, do the comparisons, do a little bit of homework, and then you'll kind of figure it out on your own. It doesn't take that long to figure it out. Some mons, the great thing about Weather Ball Ninetales too is some things you could just straight fire Weather Ball. And it's extremely powerful with shield advantage. As you see here, with the 2-1s, you literally get 83% matchups. You win 83% matchups. So very, very powerful. And like I said, with Solar Beam, it gives it coverage. The only reason I can't give it a 10 out of 10 is just the water presence. That's really it. Water presence, there are a few things that do beat it, and it needs to kind of have it without shields, or without 2 shields, Ninetales starts losing effectiveness. For example, in the 1 shield, this is how Ninetales does. 63%. So not too much, like, it literally does not change. So you need a shield. You pretty much need shields most of the time. If you don't have shields, your effectiveness drops to below. And 63 isn't a very dominant matchup. And like I said, it's just the water being buffed too. It's very unfortunate. With water being buffed, Cantonian Ninetales is still really good. But unless you land a Solar Beam, it's very, very difficult. Anyways, if you are planning to, like I said, just do your homework and then run it through. It's good for fun teams. I wouldn't use it to climb, though. Ninetales is still very strong against Shadow Razor Leafers and against Charmers. That's a great plus. So despite this, that's what makes it really, really good. And with a decent stat pool, with decent bulk and with Weather Ball Fire, you get a spammy mon, has a decent amount of bulk, and is able to do a lot of damage, especially, like I said, if you're in the 2-shield scenario. Good luck on your guys' Go Battle League video. Good luck on your Go Battle League sets. I will see you guys on the next video.